Hey there, fellow wanderers. Imagine yourself standing right in the heart of an ancient world, where the gentle swaying of a caravan becomes your everyday rhythm. The smells of rich spices, sweat, and well-worn leather mingle in the air, offering a bouquet that is unmistakably Silk Road. A dry wind kicks up a veil of dust, which sticks persistently to everything it touches. As you take this all in under the relentless desert sun, which seems to beat down with a personal vendetta, the heat weighs upon you like a heavy cloak. This image sets the stage for our tale threadbare journey through the life of a Silk Road treasurer. Now, this is not a fairy tale where your success is guaranteed. No, you must navigate a labyrinth of obstacles and dilemmas as treacherous as the path itself. So, before we dive deeper, I ask only this. If this kind of raw, unvarnished truth speaks to you, click like, hit subscribe, and leave a trace of yourself in the comments. Tell me your city, your time, your state of mind. Now, dim the lights. Let the hum of your fan blend with the wind of centuries past. Let's begin. And remember, in medieval times, even survival was a luxury. As you slot yourself into the role of a treasurer, each decision you make becomes a somber dance of strategy and survival. Picture yourself amidst items of immense value: silk, porcelain, spices, and much more. They might fill the camel's saddlebags, but it's the coins and ledgers that weigh most heavily on your mind. Often you're tempted to gaze wistfully at the horizon, imagining the markets of far-off cities where these goods will transform into wealth. Yet with each step of the camel, you realize that to pin a definition of wealth in this volatile world is as elusive as taming the wind itself. The role is deceptively unimposing. It seems simple enough. Oversee the wealth, document the goods exchanged, calculate taxes and expenses, all while ensuring you don't inadvertently enrich the altitudinous thieves of the road. And herein lies the paradox: where there is wealth, there are eyes watching. Not just the bandits hidden in the shadows, but sometimes eyes within your caravan, calculating their benefit in your loss. It's a delicate balancing act, a constant struggle to maintain trust and security amidst the whispers and rumors that drift as readily as sand. The irony, of course, is that while everyone seeks wealth, the treasurer seeks preservation of peace. You carry the weighty knowledge that a single miscalculated ledger, a forgotten coin could unravel weeks of negotiation and precipitate disaster. Each night, as the campfire crackles and merchants swap tales of profit and betrayal, you sit slightly apart, recalculating the day's exchanges by a flickering light. Historians still argue whether this position was more coveted or cursed, but one could argue it was a bit of both, wouldn't you agree? Your reality wasn't quite so dreamy. The Silk Road is anything but a well-mapped modern highway. Rather, it's an aging web of foot-worn paths and teetering bridges, where every rut and crevasse is a memory of those who traveled before. Here, you must plod between civilizations, like a human pinball, ricocheting across empires from the Roman East to the distant reaches of China. Some days balance on knife-point decisions between the Hellenistic traditions of the West and the burgeoning culture in the East, where dozens of tongues attempt to echo over the din of commerce. And let's not fool ourselves, as much as the role deals with economic prosperity, it's often shadowed by looming peril. Merchant caravans, embassies of economic might, meander under banners of empires whose fates were quietly woven by your penstroke. With a quill in hand, you translate the language of wealth into ledgers that whisper tales of conquest and collapse. The foolhardy attempts to contend with the bounty of commodities could easily lead any treasurer astray. Some, drawn into temptation by porcelain's glint or silk's caress, stray perilously close to ruin. Looted coins turn traitor, burning holes in careless pockets, slipping through fingers quicker than the sun's descent beyond the horizon. Quaint as it may seem, every small-town trader haggles in a spectrum of dialects and scripts that test your arithmetic ingenuity. While today's calculators would quickly sidestep such numeric tangles, back then it was your brain, the original computer, that unfailingly unraveled and restitched currency conversions and barter trades. You laugh, slightly bitterly, at the title of treasurer bestowed upon you. In truth, you're more a juggler, a diplomat, a keeper of secrets, and a seeker of truth wrapped into one. Those around you might see the road through different eyes, narrative woven in silks and spices, but your view remains that of currency and certificates. As moonlight sketches a silver arc across the dunes, you deliberate the day gone by, reflecting not just on wealth moved, but on the enduring burdens that accompany it. Your heart, like your footfalls on packed sand, carries their weight night after night, knowing that each sunrise begins another chapter in this relentless tale. With such ponderings, the concept of luxury shifts its form, not an indulgence of material, but a stealthy whisper of peace of mind. In a world teetering between opulent commerce and evident peril, you step forward. One foot meets the other in the dust, and so unfolds the story that will soon enter the annals of ancient trade. Yet for now, let it keep unraveling beneath the glow of the stars. The road stretches out before you, an endless ribbon threading its way through some of the most formidable landscapes Earth has to offer. The Silk Road isn't a single path, but a network of treacherous terrains spanning deserts and mountains, each with its own unique brand of hardship. As you journey forth as a treasurer, the land itself becomes your unpredictable companion, its mood shifting with each horizon crossed. Under the blistering sun, the desert appears infinite, an intimidating ocean of sand waves. You think you can hear the grains sizzle like embers with every step, the heat wrapping around you like an unwelcome embrace. It's an environment that offers no shelter, no respite, just a relentless march against sunburn and dehydration. Can you feel the parched wind carving lines of exhaustion into your cheeks? You can almost hear it mocking your plight, carrying on it the distant cries of those who've succumbed to the desert's harsh embrace before you, a gentle reminder of your own vulnerability. And then there are the dunes themselves, shifting underfoot like a traitorous friend, ready to hinder your every move. They're the cause of more than one lost night's sleep, stealing away any sense of direction. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen? You chuckle at the thought, yet find it less absurd under these conditions. Under such insidious heat, even practicality wears the guise of madness. Trudging through endless sands without a cloud to offer shade, nature, in its barren form, both belittles and emboldens you. It's a test of endurance, one that pushes even the hardiest of souls toward the edge of reason. Historians still argue whether it was bravery or desperation that propelled traders like you across these barren landscapes. Yet, as you clasp your precious ledgers closer, you know that it's a little of both, a defiant belief in the promise of greener lands and profitable exchange, awaiting somewhere beyond the sun's tyranny. Yet even the fiercest desert eventually yields to mountains, those timeless giants jutting upwards as though attempting to touch the sky itself. Here, where temperatures plummet and biting winds threaten to flay the unwary, the earth preens a stark facade quite different from the dunes. Polar opposites they are, where sand is malleable, allowing you to sink softly. Mountain trails are unforgiving, strewn with jagged rocks and treacherous slopes. The climb becomes a formidable task. Each breath you take is a frosty plume, evaporating into the rarefied air, while you adapt to the chill clawing through your layers. You've come to appreciate the crude comfort of animal hide, a shield against nature's iciness that finds your fingertips numbing within minutes. It's a grim reminder that many who attempt the peak's passes never return to the warm embrace of lower lands. The mountain trails wind like an endless path of ambition, littered with the legacies of those who braved its heights before. As your caravan slips along its spine, you spare a thought for the irony of seeking precise paths in such unpredictable surroundings. Here and now, the meticulous calculations that fill your ledgers feel as fragile as the ice crystals blown through the air, every step akin to a gamble with fate. Somewhere among these high, unforgiving passes, whispers of folklore echo back. Stories of treasure buried beneath the ice, lost forever to the rugged fingers of the cliffs. Tales of unnatural creatures, lurking in the shadows, spun from fear and desperation, given flight by howling winds that seem to carry more than mere snow. You swear the stones themselves conspire against you, creaking ominously beneath pack beasts that plod in determined resolve, their breath misting a rhythm in the chill. Stumbling through a narrow pass, you pause to look back from where you climbed. The expansive view affords the dual gift of perspective and humility. The world below stretches out in a tapestry woven by older civilizations, surviving against all odds amid harsh climates. It's a struggle that pales only under the gaze of eternity, a fight fought by forgotten empires, leaving invisible footprints along this very path. Humor surprises you here, an unexpected guest on the mountain path. It arrives on the back of a memory so ridiculous, you can't help but chuckle. You recall a story of an ancient trader named Lay, who insisted on dragging a bejeweled camel statue across these ridiculous rocky ridges. Naturally, the camel's sparkle did little to endear it to the elements, or to Lay's fellow travelers, but it serves as a reminder of the absurd compromises and hard-fought choices we make in pursuit of success. Amidst these daunting terrains, you gain a newfound respect for the Caravan, a motley assembly of merchants, herders, and dreamers, charting out commerce one step at a time. They are bound by a single purpose that marries their fates along this route, oblivious to the treacheries of time as they traverse the Silk Road's diverse expressions. In this way, the journey reveals itself not merely as a means to an end, but the end itself an experience, capturing the essence of what it truly means to survive, to persevere, and to find value beyond mere material wealth wrapped in silk. As the winds ceaselessly howl their tales and mountains reflect the legacy of every treasurer past, you realize that this trail is forever impartial, its invitations exacted upon all, with equal cruelty and grandeur. Life on the Silk Road isn't a solitary affair. As a treasurer, your life is tethered to the rhythm of a caravan. Imagine setting each foot down in concert with creatures and persons that stretch far beyond your sight. The caravans, made up of merchants, camels, and complex minds, are your traveling companions, who, just like you, are bound by tradition and profit. The road might be untamed, but within the confines of this harmonious journey, one finds something akin to order, at least the illusion of it. The camels, your most steadfast allies in this great expedition, are not the romantic creatures often depicted in tales of the desert, but rather obstinate and peculiar animals. They grunt and groan under the weight they're tasked with bearing, and yet their presence is both comforting and comical, a reminder that every trek is made possible only by those who bear the load. Their musky smell mingles with the spice-laden cargo, forming a perfume that could never be bottled yet is familiar and incessant. It is the scent of merchants' dreams, swathed in sweat and toil. Amongst these creatures and wares, humor often breaks the surface, a bubbly antidote woven into the caravan's unending trek. Whether it's the moment a camel decides to seize up stubbornly in the middle of the path, its eyes rolling imperiously at the futility of it all, or hearing the playful insults tossed between handlers, those accustomed to coaxing the best out of the meandering beasts, with far more humor than impatience. It's these sparks of levity that stand as bulwarks against the weariness of endless miles. Your fellow travelers, too, contribute their complexities. Merchants from diverse lands unite under the banner of barter and trade. The short-tempered peddler, who claims his wares are saintly fabric sent from above. The grizzled spice trader, who declares his saffron is worth its weight in gold. And the ever-bemused storyteller, who, without fail, find tales more tangled as the night wears on. With them, every camp serves as a melting pot of exchange, a symposium where languages intertwine and stories form bridges across cultural gaps. These shared experiences punctuate the monotony of travel, creating a patchwork quilt of friendship, rivalry, trust, and trepidation. The nights by campfire glow, where tales are exchanged as currency more valuable than coins, reveal the heavy undercurrent of camaraderie that lies beneath the guise of competition. In these moments, with stars glittering on a velvet canvas above, you find the human connections that offer respite from the constant negotiations and calculated exchanges of daylight hours. Yet, even within this community, there is a gentle undercurrent of competition. The clink of coins and a nod or wink exchanged in passing can signify deals brokered in hushed tones, alliances formed without your knowledge. Despite shared goals, everyone watches the other's successes and failures with keen interest, eager to learn yet cautious of trusting too much. You keep your ledgers close, each number more precious than words. In this network of ties, the caravan reflects the Silk Road's deeper purpose, its essence, woven not only by the goods exchanged, but also in the cross-cultural relationships it fosters. It's a kaleidoscope of human emotion, where trade goes beyond commerce and interconnection. Amidst glorious human unpredictability, the mundane constantly shifts into fascinating intrigue. One day might find you in a heated barter over salt, where an elusive agreement hinges entirely on the mood of a merchant's grumbling camel. On another, laughter peals when a language barrier results in an accidental order of 100 extra bolts of silk, with neither party keen to take the blame for the bilateral punchline. This companionship, though ever-shifting, serves as a counterbalance to the road's arduous demands. Historians still argue whether these stories and interactions are what kept caravans unified, despite diverse tongues and rival ambitions. But as you know, it's these very webs of relationships, knotted with trust and bruised by betrayal, that create the underlying current of trade. Occasionally you find isolation amidst the throng, times when roles become stark, dividing friend from foe, dream from delusion. Daily interactions become as routine as the clap of camel hooves in the sand. Yet, among beggars of commerce and schemers of silver, you find a rhythm that captivates. You learn that's the true strength of a caravan lies not only in numbers, but also in nuance. So, as the caravan continues its endless march through the undulating landscape, the plod of togetherness in solitude becomes the ancient song resonating across ages. Each step solidifies your place. Within this vibrant meshwork, every interaction forms a kernel of economic survival wrapped in the husk of human experience. And as the caravan winds on, it writes another verse in the epic poem of overland trade, inscribed endlessly upon the sands and soils of history's longest road. The Silk Road, despite its romantic allure, conceals lurking dangers that are anything but poetic. As a treasurer caught in the web of commerce strung between east and west, you must remain vigilant against threats that slither in the shadows. Bandits and thieves, hungry for the riches your caravan bears, see you as a tempting prize awaiting capture. Each step taken along the route demands an awareness sharp as the sword you hope won't be drawn. Long stretches of open road offer a tantalizing opportunity for bandits who've honed their craft over centuries, masters in turning silence into ambush. These shadowy figures emerge from their hidden haunts like wraiths, with a stealth that's unnerving. They may appear suddenly, descending from rocky outcrops or billowing dust, echoing a timeless dance of predator and prey. The threat of bandits shapes every aspect of the journey, requiring constant adaptation. Negotiations on guard duties are discussed meticulously, with each caravan member taking turns on the watch to ensure the precious cargo remains untouched. The clinking of armor and the heft of swords are common sounds, necessary burdens, tethered to the goal of preserving life and investments alike. You clutch your satchels of coins defensively, aware of their allure to those who live by less conventional means of currency exchange. There is a kind of gallows humor among your companions as tales are shared. Stories of infamous thieves are traded like any other commoditales of bandit leaders who manage their own departments of rogue economics, siphoning wealth faster than any ledger could ever record. These stories are a mixture of admiration and disdain, each bandit imagining a legacy every bit as significant as khans and emperors who lay claim to these lands. While some infamous bandits are known through folklore, others remain shadowy apparitions, spoken of only in hushed tones. Historians still argue whether figures like the notorious Black Cowl were real or mythical constructs, crafted to give a face to the overwhelming fears of travelers. The enigma around these figures adds a layer of mystique to their already formidable aura. As night falls, bringing with it an unsettling stillness, every snap of a twig, every rustle in the bushes raises pulses. The trust that has been built up within the caravan is put to the test. Each man and woman struggles with the unsettling duality of relying on others while suspecting treachery. You look around at your companions, shadows thrown by flickering torchlight, aware that vigilance means more than merely watching the road. Interestingly, in some regions, a peculiar custom offers twisted solace. Pass through a bandit territory successfully, and you might leave behind an offering, perhaps a token of wealth, or a piece of lesser cargo. It's almost a superstition among travelers, offering appeasement in exchange for safe passage, playing into the self-established hierarchy and deceptive diplomacy of the thieves. Occasionally, the bandits take their profession to an almost chivalric levelsome offer unexpected partnerships, promising safe passage in exchange for a toll. These uneasy alliances can be costly, but offer a fluidity that navigating the web of ancient politics rarely provides. At dawn, you might imbibe tea with one of these figures, sharing stilted yet cordial conversation with someone who sees riches in both truce and treachery alike. Yet, even in the face of these threats, a cold comfort persists. The trade must go on. The richness of the Silk Road's narrative relies on its hazards as much as its commodities. It's a symbiotic relationship, chaos birthing the very opportunity that allows trade to thrive. Should complacency overcome the caravan, the road would change, and stagnation would threaten these ancient arteries of commerce. As days blend into nights and the caravan inches forward, you learn to dance this duality, the defense of wealth against ghostly figures on horseback, the gamble of trust, and the promise of fortune waiting proudly at journey's end. The ever-present threat hums alongside the relentless march like an off-key harmony, filling the arid skies with an urgency made bearable only by the commonality of the risk shared. Thus, the route you travel is more than merely sand and silk. It's a testament to survival against adversity, a relentless challenge against fortune's fickle hand. And as every section traversed unveils its own set of dangers, it etches new insights into your heart, reminders that the road refuses to yield its treasures easily. The jangling coins in your satchel are more than mere metal, they're the lifeblood of commerce along the Silk Road. As treasurer, you undertake a rather Sisyphean task, managing an unruly economy where the heavy currency weighs not only on your mind but also your back. Each coin tells a story of prosperity and peril, a tribute to the pockets and purses left lighter across countless miles. In this ancient world, where every traveler represents potential profit or peril, the nature of currency is wonderfully cumbersome. You cradle coins like leaden burdens. They're not just heavy in the physical sense. They come laced with the hopes and fears of successful exchange. Feel the weight of bronze tangbao or silver coins, embossed with differing visages of rulers staking their claims in metal and market alike. You realize that transporting this cash is akin to porting tangible pieces of a nation's pride and prestige. Not only must you hoard these riches, but you must also perform the complex alchemy of conversions. As you encounter merchants from disparate lands, each bearers of their own legal tender, you must make sense of the exchange rates that stretch your arithmetic limits. Ever tried calculating conversions by abacus during a sandstorm? It's as frustrating as it sounds. The system of economic exchange wasn't just about coinage. Barter too disrupted the anticipated flow of trade. The challenge lay in determining equivalencia silk for spices, gold against aesthetic value, and in ensuring the fairness of any deal. When purse strings are drawn tight and the exchange rates murmur dissent in your ear, bartering becomes not just a preferred mode, but a necessary one in the melee of the market. Your skill in the art is sometimes more valuable than the currency or goods themselves. But coins are more than mere currency. They're objects of desire. Drawers treasure them more than the silk they protect, and therein lies the rub. The heavy clink of metal can be as alluring as a siren call. It's a truth that adds a layer of intrigue and keeps you constantly on the alert. You find yourself clutching your bag of coins with a sense of simultaneous security and foreboding. The coins also whisper tales of scandal and sin, stories told cheek by jowl with fables of legitimate prosperity. Some coins might have been sewn into the fabric of bribery, exchanged in the concealed dark of night, when honesty bows to necessity. Remember Lay the trader and his bejeweled camel statue? Word is that every precious stone embellished into the camel's ornate facade was said to have exchanged hands in a midnight acquisition. You smile wryly at the implication, a knot of secret transactions embedded into a single absurdity. It's a love-hate relationship, really, with the currency being your greatest tool and most foreboding liability. Historians still argue whether the treasurer's role brought more financial acumen or financial ruin to the civilizations it supported. What is undeniable, however, is that commerce along these ancient routes set the stage for what would evolve into the global economies we maneuver today. And yet, in this complicated tapestry, thieves hover, greedily eyeing your stash. It pays to be prudent. Some cut open the seams of their clothing to sow coins secretly within, demonstrating a blend of ingenuity and paranoia fashioned by necessity. You might smile at such anecdotal wisdom. In your reality, where every sound could hint at mischief, reliance on creativity to shield riches is more sanity than strategy. Dealing with the currency's weight brings physical toll, an ever-looming reminder that at any given moment, disaster could sabotage your hard-driven bargains. But even with this distrust, nipping at your heels, you tether each coin to the broader perspective. It's a milestone in the legacy of commerce, a steadfast reminder of an ever-evolving world hungering for connection and exchange. Every clang of metal striking metal speaks to successes, hard-won and journeys half-conquered. They echo across the desert paths and mountains passes, singing songs of market triumphs and failures buried in dust. Each jingle reminds you of the responsibility and power in possessing these miniature worlds of trade, crafted in Aurea, shimmering challenge that only brave yet weary hands dare carry between ancient realms. As you traverse the ever-changing landscape of the Silk Road, your role as treasurer requires mastering the art of Barter's delicate dance of diplomacy, where the value of goods isn't fixed but fluid, shifting like the sands beneath your feet. Along this vaunted route, where merchants from all corners of the known world converge, the act of bartering becomes an intricate negotiation of culture as much as commerce. Imagine standing beneath a mosaic of languages, every word an unknown dialect, every gesture a bridge over these gaps of comprehension. The air is alive with an orchestra of sounds, the hum of conversation, the shouts of hagglers, the rhythmic chant of nomads selling their wares. Here, in this cacophonous marketplace, your capabilities as a seasoned diplomat are tested. You stand firm, veiled in patience, ready to navigate the uncharted waters of exchanged goods. You might find yourself trading bolts of silk for fragrant spices, each party trying to seek that golden balance between mutual gain and selfish advantage. Every transaction creates ripples in the marketplace, a barter that coupled west with east and transported stories as much as goods. The act of trading seems simple, however. Bartering is sophisticated tarot reading. Personalities, priorities, and cultures become cards on the table. You extract truths, even from what remains unspoken. In this genre of exchange, words carry far more than mere sentiments. A misstep can tilt fragile negotiations toward disaster. Traders wield language adeptly, playfully twisting nuances to shift perceived value. You, too, become adept at this verbal fencing, learning to fuse flamboyancy with subtlety, harnessing both to your advantage as conversations become codified into the tapestry of trade itself. As strange as it may seem, certain negotiations occur in places that resonate with gentle absurdity. Discussions held beneath the curious gaze of a merchant's lamates, protruding teeth, an odd counterpoint to the solemnity of the barter, or the friendly donkey who insists on prodding its nose into your affairs, participating energetically, though wordlessly, in your activity. There exists humor within these acts, a light-hearted reminder of the absurdly serious nature embedded within market trade. Of course, there are times when barter becomes more complex than simply haggling for silk with spice. Sometimes, novelty goods acquire a mystique that transcends rational value, rankling the souls of both negotiator and notekeeper alike. The absurdity reaches comical scenarios when caravans are disrupted by the audacity of traders pushing freshly caught tortoises or worse, living snakes in order to snag a royal fur pelt. Sometimes you have no choice but to play along, turning such encounters into tales shared fondly by the firelight, allowing nature's practical jokes to weave themselves into your legendary journey. Yet, as exhilarating as these bartering sessions can be, they also underscore the constant waltz with uncertainty. Historians still argue whether the balance achieved through barter outweighed the potential gains standardized currency would later bring. Nevertheless, you take pride in the skillful equilibrium you bring to this dance, although it's one oft cloaked in unpredictability and melodrama. Bartering serves as more than just a commercial exchange. It's an intersection of human experience. These trades encapsulate flavor beyond taste, weaving stories, and ferments them for generations, dispersing joy with wry chuckles at the folly unleashed in their pursuit. They record victories in hearts and in ink, testament to the tenacity of human ambition bathed in dust. In the heat of bartered negotiation, you glimpse the beating pulse of the Silk Road. As sunlit bazaars stretch into mists of twilight's embrace, your wares become not merely fabric or spice, but fragments of a cultural lexicon. These items transcend their form, becoming conduits of connection that ignite this ancient world's imagination. And so, amid the exchanged secrets sealed through handshake, you understand that the treasures unearthed within these dealings are both physical and philosophical. Knowledge, connection, and the thrill of achieving that fleeting equilibrium. Thus, each barter represents a quiet triumph over the odds, a duet composed of whispers and exuberant claims, an ancient narrative etched into the ledger alongside one's ledger accountings. Every transaction is a story bookmarked in perpetuity, a record layered with triumphs, errors, and lessons as your legacy weaves soundlessly into the great tapestry of time. As the Silk Road weaves through its vast swath of geography, it becomes apparent that the currency of your trade varies as much as the faces of those you pass on the dusty trail. One moment, you're handling Byzantine solidi, and the next, you're negotiating with bolts of silk or drums of oil. You find yourself perpetually juggling these currencies, each stamped with the seal of its creators, bearing the scents and stories of their lands. As your caravan trudges from oasis to bustling city, this mingling of cultures creates both opportunities and headaches, constantly shifting, always unpredictable. The diversity of currency systems complicates your roles as a treasurer, each type of coin or barter item exchanging hands under the canopy of negotiation. Across the thousands of miles, cultures clash and intertwine, gifting you not just with a complex ledger, but an ever-expanding understanding of the myriad peoples and traditions that dot this landscape. Yet, it's an exhausting dance as you adapt not just to the currencies, but also the customs that come with them. Your senses become finely attuned to the clinking of coins, each tone distinct a diagnostic code of the different empires to which they belong. The weight and luster of a gold dinar differ starkly from a Chian's brass coin or a Roman denarius. Each tells a tale of its own, a piece of the larger economic puzzle you're tasked with managing. Being versatile in swapping one currency for another becomes an art form, a skill fine-tuned by intuition and acute observation rather than simple arithmetic. While currency brings its challenges, it offers intriguing stories as well. Each region introduces its quirkiest of quirks, inducing laughter and despair in equal measure. You recall the time when a particularly stubborn merchant in Samarkand offered a 1,000-year-old jade ceremonial disc as legal tender, insisting it's the only currency meaningful to his clan. The stone, carved with mythical creatures, feels out of place in your pouch of coin, an almost magical illustration of the distance between cultures meeting in commerce. While the odds favor experienced traders like you, the uncertainty of currency exchanges can lead to mistakes. Missteps bring miscalculations, errors by sheer human folly that, interestingly enough, sometimes turn into more prosperous ventures through sheer serendipity. Still, one can't take such chances lightly, and you often find yourself revisiting memories for lessons learned in target practicer, as your ledger keeper's wisdom would call it, following the butterfly effect of shifting coins. What makes this even more challenging is the occasional emergence of counterfeit coins, products of deceit that can turn fortunes in directions unintended. To tackle such mischief, you rely on the camaraderie of fellow traders and keep an ear open for rumors circulating through the caravan that expose forgery schemes. Amidst whispers, one outlandish story surfaces, that of a suave tradesman who crafted replicas so perfect he slipped straight into folklore, known only by his thieved moniker, the Silver Fox. There is also the nuanced underbelly of trade agreements, where sometimes currency is nothing more than a facade for mooted loyalties and political sagas. Historians still debate whether the influence of empires waxed and waned based on sheer power of diplomatic exchanges, sealed with gifts and currency as both bridge and buffer. These exchanges serve as a reminder that even among the silence of coins, the unsaid speaks volumes, and the invisible forces of politics play out on the borders of human interaction. You also find quirks in the currencies themselves in Luoyang. Traders use goat-shaped ingots, while in the distant marketplaces of Rome, a shadowy merchant offered favor tokens from Dionysian cults, complete with intricate carvings promising eternal hedonism. They tickle your curiosity, existing as souvenirs of unfathomable reaches of the known world. Within this jumble of faces, coins, and cultures, your identity settles into a new sense of belonging. You're not just a trader, but part of this larger tapestry of interconnected relics, each strand breaking through time and tide to reach this global stage of commerce. Your mission is clear, even amid chaos: to piece together the puzzle, weaving the value that straddles geography and allegiances. In the end, it is this mosaic of currency, both vexing and enthralling, that offers a glimpse into the complexity of survival along the Silk Road. Your story merges into this symphony of shared human experience and expectation, each transaction resonating with echoes of something larger, an empire, not visible to the naked eye, but existing in the exchange of currency and culture alike. The Silk Road is relentless in its demands, a truth exemplified by the records you keep, your sanctum of sanity amidst the uncertainty of trade. As treasurer, each notation in the ledger embodies more than mere quantities. They symbolize foresight and survival. Yet here, under whimsical skies prone to tempest and tranquility alike, you find the task of keeping accurate accounts to be a Herculean challenge. Picture yourself seated on a well-worn rug, surrounded by scrolls trying their best to fly skyward, fingers stained with ink and sand. The wind, ever eager to make its presence known, sweeps along the arid land, cascading grains of desert gold into your ink bottle. Keeping ledgers in Sandstorms turns into an artful performance, like penning poetry in a hurricane. If ink and parchment could speak, they'd likely lodge a formal complaint about the unfair working conditions. Thus, you wage a constant war against nature's whims. Even with the biting wind snapping at your pages, there's no respite from the duty of adding, subtracting, or, on particularly bad days, tearing out segments of parchment when numbers stubbornly refuse to align. Historians still argue whether some records were lost to sheer oversight, or to abrupt zephyrs whisking them away into oblivion. The truth, as you know, is a harmony of both unease and fate. A laugh bubbles up as you recall that old tale of Marduk, the astrologer turned treasurer, who'd predict sandstorms, not by the position of stars, but based solely on the trajectory of his upended ledgers. The anecdote sprinkles humor through the frustrating vagaries of desert documentation, entertainment found in shared folly. Amongst the trials of tempest, there's a moment of serenity when the storm subsides, revealing a clarity upon which scrolls themselves rely. Perhaps it's after such storms that your hand glides almost effortlessly across parchment, etching numbers as neatly as one might sew fine silk. The post-chaos stillness offers moments more instructive than any teacher clarity gleaned from chaos, akin to peering through a prismated lens at the rainbow chases imbued in nature. And there's another secret your survival hinges, as much on these accounts as your talent for finagling with the figures that these ledgers house. Calculations often contain unspoken allowances, measures taken for unforeseen encounters. At times, these figures morph, becoming flexible laws of economy destined to accommodate inevitable human bargaining. You learn, remarkably, that there are more stories woven into ledgers than words could ever fully convey. With experience, you grow adept at whispering sweet tidings of countless consigned commodities, transcribing them to paper with rhythmic sureness. Helmed by wisdom from teachers, past veterans in their own right, who wrestled ink into submission before you, these lessons are the tenant stars, firmament guides, by which you chart your course. Yet, even such immutable knowledge finds itself swept in tumult waves of unforeseen intricacies. There's the time your ledger became unravelable cipher, melding holy parchment and, inexplicably, a rooster feather quill, a keepsake from a trade fair in Herat. It serves as a reminder that, in commerce as in life, absurdity can be a firm ally. Within the troves of inked paper and time-tarnished tomes, an open scholarly debate lingers regarding these early accountants, the arbiters by whose hands commerce flourished or faltered. In their hands, prosperity wasn't merely preservation but evolution, a continuous unraveling and refashioning of societal threads civilization draped itself within. After all the ink stained, pages spent, and numbers calculated, you find in this inherent plurality a treasure cherished in all its mundane complexity, because it echoes existence itself. Ledgers whisper tales of battles, victories won more by wisdom than by weaponry. So, as the last notes of the desert breeze hum their tune through your modest camp that stands stoically in this sea of sand, remember, each ledger bears the weight of its own narrative and irreplaceable witness to an era marked not just by the burgeoning expanse of commerce, but by the very ingenuity encapsulated within its books. The accounts you hold comprise more than values alone. They stitch history's narrative together, crafting inseparable continuity between crossroads and coin. And in these endless sands of time, what greater journey of commerce can there be? While your duty as treasurer finds you ever immersed in the numbers that orchestrate trade, the Silk Road dances to an even broader spectrum, colored vibrantly by a tapestry of scandals and secrets. Beyond the surface of commerce lies a realm of intrigue, tales so outlandish they would be more at home within the pages of scandal sheets than sober merchant records. The road, with its endless caravan of personalities, becomes fertile ground for the sowing of deception and dalliance. The interactions between those travelling it spawn a veritable theatre of human interplay, whether whispered in hushed confidences or overtly declared amongst the clamour of the trading post. Picture this amidst labyrinthine stalls packed with curiosities. Negotiations become leveraged by the shifting sands of rumour and reputation. Let's take, for example, the infamous silken garment fiasco incident wrapped in both cloth and chicanery. The tale tells of a merchant, a man of slight stature and deep pockets, whose silks, though seemingly ordinary to most, contained hidden pockets, sewn so cunningly that even the sharpest eye might overlook them. The merchant specialized in smuggling gems across borders, his silken wares carrying stones worth kingdoms. It's a story that wove its way into legend, transforming the mundane act of trade into a cloak and dagger affair even Shakespeare might envy. Revelations shock more than once, uncovering scandal in the guise of simple trade. Some offer whispered suggestions of clandestine deals struck in the liminal space between dusk and dawn, numbers hiding more within their digits than transactions alone. Here, amidst the silent sands, secrets tiptoe through the late-night air, guided by shadows cast long from campfires. Your ledger, ever an unwavering ally, may capture concrete exchanges, yet the tales flourish on all that it doesn't record. As a treasurer, your practical nature urges caution as scandals unfold. Risk is business, but calculated risk is where wisdom lies. Among the caravan, you note who lingers a moment too long at the spice trader's booth, or whose eyes flicker with recognition when strangers meet. It is an unspoken game, this observation, offering a thrill sparked by the potential for chaos just out of view. Occasionally, news pierces the monotonous drone of daily dealings of merchants, entangled in rivalries not just for goods, but for affections, translating into unintended consequences that blur the lines of professional decorum. It is more than trade. It's a living theatre of personal vendettas, borrowing acts from ancient dramas, performed under an open sky. Recall that tete-a-tete, involving the prominent silk trader and the enamoured spouse of a formidable spice merchant. An impromptu alliance formed, as alliances tend to do, leaving a wake of rearranged dynamics among those involved. Then, there are the salacious tales, stories that travel the Silk Road faster than any caravan. From silk dyed with forbidden shades, to talismans promising prosperity, intrigue persists. Legends of secret spice blends rumoured to heighten senses or extinguish ambition's each, one wrapped in layers deeper than any trader's script might uncover. They tease with the promise of hidden wonders, their mystery a siren song that compels some to act beyond reason. Historians still debate the extent to which these scandals truly influenced commerce along the Silk Road. Were they embellishments spun by bored merchants, or did they genuinely shape the course of trade? The truth is likely lost in the sands, a variable narrative as mutable as markets themselves. Yet, even amid such intrigue and whisperings, the stock exchanges, bartered negotiations, and proposition companionship remain as fluid as ink itself. Each deed, spoken or unspoken, adds dimension to the Silk Road's legacy, intertwining discrete acts into a continuum vibrant with humanity. As night falls, and the stars cast watchful eyes over another day's commerce, you ponder the mirage of scandal that trails your path. Like shimmering shadows, they follow with myth and mischief, reminders that while riches may sustain, stories embolden spirit. And so, as you settle near a dimming fire, ledger closed for the day, you're reminded that more than tangible wealth, it's these tales painting the unending canvas of your epic that imbue reality with color. Intrigue immerses itself within this shared narrative, transforming a mere journey into an editorial on the human condition along history's great thoroughfare testament, whispered timelessly upon the wind. As the caravan winds through the expanse of the Silk Road, the journey is often interrupted by the shifting sands of political intrigue and unexpected alliances. In this world, where commerce and conquest are inseparable, navigating the relationships between city-states and empires requires as much dexterity as balancing the intricate ledger back in your tent. Each city-state you encounter is a unique entity, governed by its own rules and governed heads often larger than life, yet with ambitions dependent upon the trade coursing through their lands. With every border crossed, you must carefully assess the political climate, aware that today's ally might be tomorrow's adversary. Inscriptions on scrolls exchanged within city walls bear more than salutation. They are barometric gauges measuring political aspirations. Take, for example, the time your caravan approached Kashgar, a crossroads city steeped in as much historical intrigue as it was natural beauty. An alliance forged between city leaders and your prominent trading partners was perched on the delicate edge of diplomacy. Local rulers demanded tribute, their modus operandi, cloaked in formality, yet edged with a hint of menace that could turn all too quickly into hostility. The ever-present demand for tribute highlights the delicate balance of politics and power that make even routine transactions a spectacle on the geopolitical stage. Sometimes, the alliances manifest in strange camaraderies, offering sources of assurance for both the protective hand extended toward your caravan and the clinking coins that grease politics strangely across distances. You share habits and stories over the humid warmth of tea, your heart echoing the rhythm of burgeoning relationships spurred by trade but anchored in mutual dependability. Not all negotiations are so straightforward, however. Tensions between rival powers occasionally embroil you in their net, urging your caravan to select sides shrouded alternately in intrigue and necessity. Historians still argue whether some caravans altered the course of empires by acting as conduits for political whispers and allegiances formed under cover of trade. Whether through smuggled intelligence or strategic partnerships, the road transcends mere commerce, becoming a delicate dance over which history swayed precariously. The Mongols, for example, loom over this narrative as spectres of consolidation and power. While their conquests across the steppes brought fear, so too did they impose a kind of order, a pax mongolica, across the network of trade routes that ushered in a safer passage for caravans like yours. There's an irony buried within the conquerors seen as threats became arbiters, encouraging prosperity through exchange. Yet the prospect of alliances doesn't always shimmer with benevolence. Ambushes and betrayals occur without premonition, and the cost of making a single poor choice can prove irreversible. Ultimately, good relations are cultivated patiently, tendrils of trust often requiring nurturing, akin to hardy wildflowers, growing unapologetically in hostile sands. Your capacity to recognize veiled intentions reads like a sage script enriched by scars earned through consequence and humility. You come to recognize that the Silk Road, far from being an isolated artery of trade, is really a thoroughfare for the politics of diverse nations whose confluence becomes the broader testament of human enterprise. The leaders you meet are not interchangeable cogs, but influencers capable of dictating the ebb and flow of commerce through diplomacy or duress. Every handshake, each formal greeting exchanged beneath ornate arches, signals authenticity, testing your patience. It's these political layers rooted deep beneath the surface of trade that offer as much complexity as commerce itself. Between the tenacity of resolve and diplomacy's elusive finesse, You experience the paradox of being both player and played, weaving through decisions emanating from shadows cast far afield. So, amid shifting alliances and the ever-present spectre of instability, you draw sustenance, not merely from tangible exchanges, the feel of silk and clink of coins, but from the relationships spawned by necessity. These, more than any geography traversed, become the paths that endure within the annals of time, connecting the footprints of history like beads twined teasingly along an ancient souvenir relic. And in such unions you sense that survival, much like the wealth accompanying your journey, is tightly interwoven into the silken threads spun from both trust placed and trust pledged at. Once fragile, resilient, and transformative to a trade reliant on more than just passage, but promise itself, the Silk Road stretches out with seemingly infinite monotony, where hours blur into each other under the relentless sun and the echoing crunch of footsteps upon gravel. Yet, within this rhythmic lull, that lulls even the most vigilant traveller, there emerge moments of startling intensity, negotiations over silk, spices, and precious stones that break the spell of silence and exhaustion. They are the fiery punctuation marks of the journey, igniting both tension and excitement amid the endless trudge. As a treasurer, you find these negotiations to be as much a test of endurance as the physical journey itself. Under canvas awnings in bizarre corners or within the shadows of towering minarets, merchants gather to pit their wit against one another. Every exchange becomes a chess game, where each move and countermove is chosen not only to gain advantage, but to reveal as little as possible about your true position. Imagine standing on a bustling trading floor, layered in contrasting aromas of cumin and jasmine, with voices rising like whirling dervishes borne through the air. Here, your senses are heightened, aware of every inflection in tone and every bead of sweat on your opponent's brow. You're attuned to the nuances of dialogue, each word laced with opportunity or threat dualities in delicate balance, like silk thread wound round a spindle. Negotiations demand your presence of mind, each engagement a game where expertise meets happenstance. It's a theatre where alliances might shift with a single misstep or flourish in the light of mutual benefit. Recall the story of Nilufar, the fabled merchantess of Bukhara, revered not just for her prized rubies but for her uncanny ability to read others. Tales abound of men who entered negotiations with her, confident of their superiority, only to leave lighter in coinage and heavier in humility. This isn't just commerce. Negotiations are an intricate balance of patience and paradox, alternately companionable and confrontational. Sometimes, silence itself becomes a strategic weapon, allowing the other party's desperation to overtake their caution. And in those seemingly quiet moments, you reveal a resolve as unyielding as the caravan's measured tread. Yet, as the hours lengthen, so too does fatigue set in the invisible haze through which your mind navigates. Calculations become burdensome, your eyes blurred over ledgers that demand immaculate scrutiny. Sleep becomes a distant promise, exchanged for deals carved into the ledger by candlelight, a trade-off that carries as much hazard as potential gain, given the consequences inherent in failing accounts. Silence and spoken exhaustion goad you onward, propelling you into an ancient dialectic woven from avarice and acumen. As negotiations stretch into aching days, they cement your place within the road's legacy. Here, art is less about hawking wares than about communicating stories worth more than goods themselves, which, remarkably, find echoes in the silence that hosts them. Historians still debate whether it was the trade of goods or the exchange of these stories that truly perpetuated the Silk Road's vitality. Certainly, both carry weight, but over time, it is the story's fables born of desire, endurance, and enigmatic alliances that resonate universally. They remind you that even within long-standing silence, spoken narratives remain indispensable currency. Amid victories both small and grand, you uncover whispered allegiances and tacit understandings that influence deals beyond the grasp of ledgers. There's a certain wisdom in perceiving how exhaustion lends charm to tense exchanges. Sometimes, a deal is miraculously born from laughter when negotiators reach that breaking point of absurdity during marathon haggling sessions. You smile at the memory of the Uyghur trader whose stubborn bull regained mirth, inspiring transactions over shared amusement more solid than any formal treaty. When words fail, you resort to gestures honed through shared hardship and mutual desperationa. Pat on the back, a shared wine flask, a look that translates as, "You win this time, but only just." Each motion is laden with all that remains unspoken, binding not just the negotiation, but the negotiators themselves into the tale-bearing lore of the Silk Road. Hence, literary echoes reverberate in silence, but it is the verbal exchangetenst, renewed and perpetually rewritten, that carves the client's legacy. Through these artful negotiations, their voice echoes across eras, preserving not only wealth and prosperity, but an insightful connection between whisper and word, silence and symphony, tireless present and storied past, making the Silk Road something infinitely more. As the days turn into weeks and the Silk Road stretches endlessly before you, the true toll of your responsibility as treasurer begins to make itself known. The road, with its eternal cycle of commerce and camaraderie, demands more than simple accounting. It exacts a tax of another kind, not measured in coins, but in the quiet erosion of spirit and strength. Imagine the weight of the journey pressing down upon you, not in the usual sense of weary muscles, but as a ubiquitous, insistent presence. Every item you guard, and every note inscribed in your ledger, carries a burden far greater than its physical manifestation. Each one whispers secrets both known and hidden, testifying to your skill and your vulnerability. You become acutely aware that in a role where precision is paramount, the breadth of your duty extends beyond the ledger's edge. Self-preservation and vigilance form the core of survival in your role, knowing that any miscalculation can ripple through the caravan with profound consequence. This knowledge is ever present, nestling itself into the core of your being, twisting into a knot of tension that burdens more than any weight of lead. When the stakes of this adventure reveal themselves, your gallery of calculations does it ever end? It seems infinite, dispersing promises amid moonlit sands and tangled dreams alike. In the cacophony of market towns, where the rhythmic chant of vendors and the clamour of negotiations drown out reflective thought, you find fleeting distraction. But in the solace of night, each crackle of the campfire speaks to you of the road's trials. It's here, beneath the canopy of stars, that the silence unravels to reveal fragments of solitude singing out within the symphony of human endeavour. You begin to understand that the role of treasurer, this deceptively grandiose title, reverberates beyond economic stewardship. It's an ongoing exercise in emotional fortitude, an unrelenting battle fought between resilience and apprehension. Each interaction with the moving tapestry, that is the Silk Road, commits itself not just to record, but to memory. A mosaic assembled within your thoughts, echoing beneath your wearied eyes. Deeper still, your musings brew. Historians still investigate the mental toll on Silk Road treasurers, philosophical musings that were both esteemed and burdened. The arguments hinge upon whimsy and wonderment chasing wearied exhaustion, absorbed by the mantle of continuity. Your position submerges you into the collective consciousness of the caravan, a tapestry fused from diverse ambitions. As metal clinks within its coin-scarred ledger, so too does fatigue intertwine with eye-tone reflecting ambition's pursuit, the other reflecting preservation's necessity. Seen through this lens, your existence relies on more than economizing simple transactions. It embarks upon a journey of soft balance between hope and necessity, a quest where survival's true treasure is peace found amid commerce's calculated chaos. Execute these tasks well, and you mark yourself as an exemplar guiding others along this path of recognition. Occasionally, camaraderie with your fellow travelers sustains Yuan unspoken understanding, linking weary souls through deeds lived and done. A shared smile, or the comforting embrace of inside jokes, provides respite from demands demanding, revealing the humanity beating beneath commerce's facade. Such moments buoy spirit long tethered by responsibility. Then there's the meditative calm brought by ritual repetition, assembling your fingers across numbers, cross-referencing contracts beneath celestial brilliance, aiming to balance values seen and unseen prolong. As wind whispers soothe over plains of desert-imbued arithmetic, you consider transformation here transcending age and place across millennia. The true toll thus resolves itself, not in negatives within obfuscated arithmetic, but within silent sanctity, experienced weaving thought and promise, together balancing stones stacked high against horizon's eternal march. With each ledger balanced amid figures intricate and sublime, you've struck the equation, allowing both body and mind repose between night's refrain and dawn's renewal. In ink-stained fingers, close your eyes against day's complexities. Remember lessons shared in echoes, ringing timelessly across commerce's pure expanse. Embrace the symphony sung softly by weary footsteps, walking paths upon ancient normstract, endlessly, connecting past into present like silk eternal. As your caravan plods doggedly along the Silk Road, it becomes evident that the cargo you transport holds stories as rich and varied as the land you traverse. The camels, those stoic beasts of burden, carry more than just goods upon their backs. They bear the hopes, dreams, and secrets of countless traders and cultures intertwined across this vast network of trade. Each day, as you pack and unpack, adjusting and readjusting the loads, you discover new layers to the story each bundle tells. It's not just the vibrant bolts of silk or the fragrant spices that intrigue you, but what they represent. The desires and ambitions of people spread across empires, each seeking something just beyond their reach. The goods nestled into your charge serve as threads in a broader tapestry that stretches across time and space, linking distant lands through commerce and curiosity. You've come to know the camels as stubborn but reliable companions, their gentle grunts a language of their own, reminding you of the life throbbing beneath even the most inanimate of cargo. There's a peculiar satisfaction in observing the camels' steady rhythm, their sway soothing against the clamour of barter, their resilience quietly inspiring everyone around. Among the bundles and sacks, you notice little talismans, tucked away figurines or amulets placed discreetly by traders, more superstitious or perhaps just hopeful. These items, though seemingly insignificant, form a bond between the trader and their goods, whispered prayers for safe passage or a prosperous exchange. On particularly quiet days, when the swathes of the desert stretch endlessly forth, you'll find yourself contemplating the deeper narratives woven into this procession of trade. From the glint of a precious jewel, wrapped securely under layers of cloth, telling tales of its journey from a Persian bazaar, to the mundane utility of copper pots forged by artisans whose livelihoods breathe through hammered metals, the caravan carries a wealth of human endeavour. You recall how certain goods carry with them an aura of the exotic, making them centerpieces of every trade negotiation. People speak of cinnamon and saffron with an almost reverent air, hinting at hidden stories of lands where the sun caresses fields in warm golden hues, vanquishing darkness with mesmerizing scents that would transcend imagination. These items don't merely attract buyers with their aromas or colors, they whisper of far-off places, firing the imagination and drawing it to shores unseen. Sometimes, you come across quirkier loads hidden among the predictable bulk of trade. A peculiar sight one afternoon, a small, carefully sealed jar, reputed to contain crocodile tears, heralded as a potent elixir for strengthening hearts, reminds you of the curious blend of fact and legend that walks hand in hand along the Silk Road. Their appeal stems not so much from their proven efficacy as from the stories that have grown around them, binding rhetoric with reality until the two are indistinguishable. Historically, merchants have relied on spinning tales as part of the art of the sale. Historians still debate whether the tales told by merchants were mostly myth or whether there was a grain of truth behind those fantastical claims that crimson pigment in the silk, dyed with the blood of red dragons, could protect its wearer from harm, for example. Yet, these tales become part of the merchandise themselves, adding value that transcends the material. In this constant trade of goods and stories, you find the true richness of this journey. The cargo you oversee is more than a measure of wealth. It is a history of cultures converging, dispersing echoes as they meet. Daily, you watch items exchanged with ceremony and delight, each piece taking with it fragments of its holder. These are the true links that bind east to west. Ultimately, traversing these lands reveals the dynamic introspection of commerce, where camels tread ancient paths while humanity weaves anew without letting one corpuscle slip. They remind you that in every grain of spice, every stroke of silk, each whispered story captured is not just commerce, but the bridge between time and dreamer, soulful chorus singing the epic of enterprise, dawned eternally beneath the sun. The desert has long held a reputation for deception, a seemingly unending expanse where mirages flicker on the horizon and reality shifts with the wind. As a treasurer on the Silk Road, you find yourself navigating not only the physical challenges of this arid land, but the intricate webs of trust and deceit woven by human hands. The desert holds more tricks up its sleeve than mere heat and sand. It's a theatre of illusions, where trust becomes as elusive as the morning dew, evaporating under the sun's relentless scrutiny. Picture yourself standing on the golden dunes, the horizon extending endlessly beyond your vision. The sun beats down with a ferocity that distorts distance and direction, casting shadows that seem alive, shifting with each gust of wind. It's in this mercurial setting that you tread carefully, for the desert is not just sands and stones but a playground of human cunning. In a place where the environment can turn on you at any moment, human nature often mirrors these unpredictable sands. The real challenge in such environs lies in discerning friend from foe, truth from treachery. Here, amid the ever-shifting sands, transactions occur with the subtlety of desert creatures, carefully cloaked until the opportune moment of revelation. It's a place where deception can make one pause, where every found footprint screams tales of either ally or assailant, leaving you to decide, and quite quickly, which. Among the traders, mirages aren't confined to the physical landscape. They manifest within negotiations, promises spoken as if carved in stone, yet as ephemeral as the breeze. The seasoned trader knows that even in the most genuine of exchanges, there lies a fine line between reality and illusion. The whispered assurances of a reliable partner can, upon the next breath, dissolve like sand through fingers. In contrast to this, are alliances fortified by mutual need, a tether of trust born out of knowing that both parties face the same existential threats posed by the unforgiving desert. It's a delicate dance, a balance of power maintained through mutual respect and shared destiny. As words exchanged in Shadowforge a bond stronger than one might expect, you realize this tenuous trust is kept not through choice, but as a necessity. Such alliances are as vital as water in a dry land. The legends, those strange winds carrying tales of merchant tricks and miraculous recoveries, often provide either laughter or pause. Everyone has heard of the silver-tongued trader, that master of illusion whose greatest trick was selling sacks of puffish air they claimed had healing properties. Humor and duplicity intermingle within these tales, folklore bewitching caution and surprise. You may scoff, yet there's something compelling within the absurdity, a testament to human creativity, thriving in the face of sheer adversity. Historians still argue whether these legends serve more as warnings or as enticements to the adventurous soul. What is clear, however, is that these stories lend the desert an air of mystery and allure, drawing waves of hopeful souls year after year. Yet, they also remind one to never let down their guard, for the line between truth and trickery is ever thin, ever present. Through each encounter, you learn that the desert is a master illusionist, offering reality draped in mirage, teaching lessons that resonate deeply, lessons on caution, observation, and the art of listening beyond words. The most dramatic of these moments occur when trust revealed with an unexpected twister, mirage unveiling itself as solid ground, or a secure deal evaporating like morning mist. As dusk falls, the sand cools beneath your feet, stars outlining a celestial roadmap across the desert sky. They serve as quiet witnesses to the day's attempts to forge meaning from seemingly ambiguous circumstances. Yet this is the essence of the journey, a never-ending quest for clarity within an ever-obscuring setting. In the desert, you've learned that truth is as fluid as the sands, a kaleidoscope of story and circumstance, each shift gifting new perspectives upon the threads that thread through human experience. Though the desert carries resonances of deceit, its mysteries remind you to look with discerning eyes and listen carefully. In doing so, perhaps you'll catch the undercurrent of authenticity woven through the echoes of history's vast stage, where truth and tales intermingle freely to create the ever-evolving mosaic of the Silk Road. As you journey along the Silk Road, you encounter a convergence of cultures that is as varied as the terrain itself. From Persia to China, each trading post is a crossroads where worlds collide, an intersection of tongues, traditions, and customs. Here, amidst this vibrant tapestry of humanity, you'll find that communication is not just about language, but an expression of identity, sometimes leading to moments of enlightenment, and other times to ripe misunderstandings. The art of trading in such a setting becomes a performance, a flash of words, gestures, an exchange where recognition and misunderstanding mingle as freely as traders at a busy bazaar. Engage your senses, for everyone is alive and tingling with the cacophony of life at these market towns. The rich aroma of spices floats tantalizingly through the air, while at once the bustling sounds of bartering rise up like a living symphony in which you are both composer and player. Each merchant, with their accentuated gestures and attempts at foreign tongues, offers a story locked within their wares. Some tales unfold with ease, spilling out freely as silk. Others conceal intricacies like troublesome knots that must be patiently unpicked. In this melting pot, miscommunication is inevitable. A flourish of the hands here, or an incorrectly interpreted phrase there, can lead to confusion that is both frustrating and, upon reflection, a source of amusement. You imagine the scene, a merchant's wide-eyed expression as they unwittingly offer a camembert cheese wheel to a trader seeking cotton, both parties tangled in the crossfire of linguistic inadequacy. Amid these small dramas, one finds whimsier, light-hearted reminder that trading, like life itself, is rarely perfect. Consider the lively storytelling of a Mediterranean merchant who regales a crowd with tales of Trojan heroes over cups of barley beer, all while unwittingly wearing his jebelai inside out, a fashion mishap that sends ripples of laughter through the crowd. Such scenes remind you that the amalgamation of cultures often leads to curiosities, the very essence of the shared human condition unveiling itself, one mistaken identity at a time. And yet, in these moments of misunderstanding, there is often growth. Each misstep furnishes the participants with invaluable lessons, instilling resilience and fostering newfound avenues of exchange. Historians still debate whether the cultural exchanges of the Silk Road had a unifying or fragmentary effect on societies, but witnesses like you can testify to the power of even the tiniest interaction. Despite sundry obstacles, these encounters serve to illuminate shared humanity, the bonds of commerce, and tolerance that persist despite seemingly insurmountable differences. In such a milieu, you also find opportunities for unique alliances to form. Cultural misunderstandings, though potentially problematic, can also spawn bonds born from necessity, trust built on shared struggle, enduring far longer than expected. In these moments, a simple nod or shared smile bridges worlds, transcending cultural rifts to create coalitions of people brought together by a jointly shared road. Some acts of diplomacy within this melting pot stand out for their inventiveness. There's the clever tactic of trading familiar objects with foreign names. Universal items like bread, for instance, become bridges that more reliably bind contrasting cultures together. Interestingly, a common saying among veteran merchants claims that trade is a language of its own, perfectly lucid, even when grammar and construction might baffle linguists. Even amid this convergence, humor unfurls its own vibrant banners. In the past, daring traders have outright invented languages to secure obscure deals. A handshake, wedded to a casual string of gibberish, served as bargaining leverage more than once. Silliness transforms seeming calamity into forgivable folly, lending laughter and irony a place at the table among more serious endeavors. As each day draws to a close and the sun dips below the horizon, retreating into the folds of sandy heavens, reflection reveals the Silk Road's essence, a living entity that fluctuates with each tale told and each grudge forgiven. In this dance of culture and communication, you realize that the story you carry is not just your own. It is a chronicle shared between traders of all colors and creeds, with misunderstandings woven inextricably into a broader quilt of camaraderie, resilience, and vibrant enterprise. The Silk Road collides and resonates, creating ripples that sculpt an enduring legacy whose texture is as much about mutual growth as it is Goodsan ancient model of connection weaving its eternal bonds across the ages, one interaction at a time. The Silk Road, with all its challenges and opportunities, also poses the unpredictability of weather, a formidable adversary, as timeless as the road itself. Here, amidst the shifting sands and towering peaks, weather becomes an uninvited companion that you cannot afford to ignore. Its capricious whims shape your journey, carving stories into the landscape, as nature herself joins the tapestry of trade, with her own brushstrokes, sometimes gentle, often fierce. As a treasurer, you must contend not only with the vagaries of commerce, but with the elements themselves. The road is a place of extremes. One moment, the sun blazes fiercely across the undulating dunes, a fiery beacon drawing from the earth an oppressive heat that leaves even the hardiest travelers parched and weary. The next, clouds roll in with deceptive speed, delivering storms that sweep across the caravan with a fury unmatched, drenching the arid lands in torrents and transforming pathways into impassable quagmires. It is in these moments when weather wields its hand that you learn nature's unpredictability necessitates both preparation and adaptability. You can't control the elements any more than you can stop the tide, but you can observe, anticipate, and respond. Each urgent recalibration, erecting makeshift shelters, or diverting to alternate routes demands precision, quick thinking, and no small measure of ingenuity. Consider the time when, perched amidst the craggy heights of the Tian Shan Mountains, your caravan was enveloped by an unexpected snowstorm. The warmth of shared fires and mutual resolve tempered the biting chill, though not without cost. The storm speaks through its own language, carving stories into the flesh of those who dare challenge its dominion. Each flake, seemingly innocuous, builds its own legacy, tangible yet ephemeral. This kaleidoscope of climates advances an education amidst the elements, fascinated as much by heat mirages shimmering over lake beds as by sudden gusts keen to flip outriders into disarray. You become adept at mastering the silent vocabulary of windswept dunes, the gentle, living movement of sand, speaking to a universal narrative about fluidity, story of survival, etched across shifting ground. Yet, although weather remains a formidable challenge, it also offers a trace of whimsy, a sporadic chance to surrender to the whims of nourishment or amusement within environmental adversity. Picture the joyous dance breaking out amongst the children of the caravan during an unexpected downpour in the normally arid steppe. Laughter echoing across fields, mud clinging to legs, those moments emblazoned as pristine memories amidst a journey typically characterized by grit. Historians still argue whether changes in climate were pivotal in shifting trade dynamics along the Silk Road, but, within living memory, weather remains an immediate concern possessing a raw, timeless power. It tempers expectations, shapes strategies for carrying wealth across boundaries, with resilience derived from foresight gleaned from experience. Metaphors blend with the elements, where frozen passes canalize change, and temperate valleys invite consideration. And within these climates, characters leaders seized by fate, traders bearing tales from the farthest reaches, become memorable not just for their wares, but for their genius in reading nature's omens, charting courses beneath celestial canopy, or trusting instinct to circumvent challenges poised by rival kingdoms. As you sit beside the nightly ember, contemplating the fire's dance under the aegis of a sky thick with stars, nature's dews take on spectral forms, glimmers of movement, clouding one's clarity but enhancing perception. You see how fortunes twist like arterial storm winds, feeding both mortality and opportunity into unexpected equations aligned across time's grand ledger. At its core, weather on the Silk Road teaches you humility, a gift that comes packaged with unpredictability. It reminds you that no matter your ingenuity or diligence, you are but a guest within a boundless ancient theatre. With each storm endured, each sun-soaked mile survived, you embrace uncertainty as an ally rather than adversary. And so, as the journey unfolds amid successive climates, you accept nature's unyielding embrace, each embrace conveying fleeting echoes of eternity. These climatic symphonies together hum in whispered snow and whispered rain, coaxing recognition of the resilience that binds the orchestra of life itself. Across these travels, sown with weathered seams, contemplation of crossing within nature's pages deepens thoughts journeyed on, an uninterrupted flow, akin to water through sundered thrilling challenge of balance, sharpened exquisitely along this harsh, majestic road. In the labyrinthine web of the Silk Road, marked by its tortuous paths and unpredictable weather, another complex element weaves itself into the fabric of your journey: bureaucracy. It slinks invisibly alongside commerce, where local administrations often prove as crafty as the bandits you outpace. Indeed, the wheels of bureaucracy, reminiscent of a camel's deliberate pace, grind with a distinctive, familiar squeak, always ready to remind you of its presence in the most unexpected of places. Each city-state, chieftaincy, and principality along your route imposes its own unique set of protocols, taxing your endurance of patience just as much as the elements test your physical resilience. Paperwork imagined as innocuous becomes a challenge as daunting as crossing a desert or fording a river. You shuffle through a dizzying array of permits, levies, and taxes, each bearing the stamp of authority, which your ink-stained fingers fumble with in a seemingly endless rotation of approval and compliance. This Sisyphean task sees you standing in endless queues, where parchment scrolls stack taller than the camels waiting at the caravanserai. It's here, below the intricately carved archways of city gates or beneath the shade of an ancient tree, that you must petition for passage, unrolling scrolls until it resembles an oral history unto itself. The bureaucratic gauntlet tests even the shrewdest of traders, laying down paths that curve and twist far beyond the apparent line of sight. Consider your approach to the city of bulk, where a particularly officious administrator deems your meticulous records worthy of closer inspection. This officially sanctioned bottleneck stalls you beneath the sun's ire, waiting on the leisure of an unseen quill. Here, there is no negotiation with the wind, it is patience that oils the squeaky gears of bureaucracy. The interactions within bureaucratic spaces are often laced with unintentionally comedic moments. Recall the incident involving a fellow trader attempting to procure passage, only to be detained due to a misplaced apostrophe on the permit, elevating a hymn of frustration into an anthem echoed across the courtyard. As the laughter ripples among your companions, it softens the rigidity of these formulas, even as it throws light on the absurdity latent within the rote of officialdom. Yet, bureaucracy, whilst cumbersome, is not devoid of purpose. Simply put, it governs both legality and legitimacy, serving as a bridge between chaos and ordered commerce. Historians still argue whether such structures enabled or hampered the flow of trade across the Silk Road, for while it demands homage in the form of compliance, it also offers protection guaranteeing rights, dispute resolutions, and a semblance of stability. And so, with steady acceptance, you learn to navigate its intricacies, recognizing the hidden levers of influence that guide your passage from one locale to the next. Amongst the drudgery, you discover friendships form even here. These bureaucrats, often seen as faceless extensions of their office, reveal depth. Over countless visits, and sometimes over endless cups of aromatic tea, they display a human perspective, tempered by the same road they regulate. The relationships forged in these interactions remind you that beneath inscrutable scrolls, there exists a shared humanity. Together, you acknowledge that systems far outlast any singular journey, that pathways navigated blend human endeavor with decree. Bureaucracy highlights a stark truth: commerce is bound not merely by the physical restrictions of its journey, but by the elaborate dance between parties that escort values across thresholds. It is fashioned, just like silken fabrics, by both checks and balances, measures that bind its components resolutely over 3 dimensions. Dimensions that cast light upon tangents between goods and people. So, as you roll that final parchment back up, securing its seal under a twilight sky dusted with stars, you see bureaucracy not so much as a hindrance, but as an acceptance of stories unveiled amidst layers inked by division, quiet collaboration towards balance. Through sighs that reassemble within commerce's chorus, you explore the unyielding weight of words, understanding navigation beyond the obvious, the open form that offers sustenance, a propitious sign that as roads connect bodies to dreams, at its heart, bridges conceal remarks, unbidden, pointing the way to connections forged across counterpoint's wavering tune. The Silk Road, far from being a mere artery of exchange, is a repository of incredible storious tales of trade and triumph that echo down through the annals of time. These stories, as much a part of the desert wind as the grains of sand it carries, offer a glimpse into the lives of those who dared to cross great distances in pursuit of fortune and fame. As a treasurer, you are the keeper of more than just physical wealth. You are the custodian of these narratives, threads woven into the very fabric of the endless road. Picture yourself by a dancing fire at the end of a long day's journey, the camels resting quietly and the world reduced to a circle of warmth and light that pushes back against the encroaching night. Around you, fellow travelers gather, each one drawn into the ancient ritual of storytelling. The flickering flames illuminate faces as they listen in rapt attention, eager for tales that remind them of shared purpose and possibility. There's the legend of Kashgar's gold-laden Caravan tale, oft repeated by those enduring the laborious trek through Taklamakan. It speaks of an audacious group who supposedly transported chests overflowing with gold, unscathed by bandits or storms, only to be undone by the mesmerizing beauty of the oasis where they chose to rest, succumbing to an offer too generous to refuse. This story, part myth, part moral, holds the seeds of caution within its gilded allure. Or perhaps it's the story of the silk whisperers of Khotan, a cohort of traders who mastered a technique so refined that a whisper was required to identify the finest silks, unleashing a competitive edge discussed in both hushed acclaim and envious grumble by rivals across the sands. Their trade secrets conveyed not only textiles to every edge of the known world, but also the reputation of unfathomable mastery over craft. In another tale, a merchant from Persia, known affectionately by travelers as Shirin the Tenacious, embodies the resourcefulness that characterizes so many Silk Road denizens. Tied to his tales is his effective network, ingenious routings, and an unerring instinct for achieving mutually beneficial arrangements. His moniker reflects tenacity interwoven with adaptive capability. There are few who started with less, yet ended with so much both materially and intellectually. These triumphant stories generate not only admiration, but serve a more practical purpose. They educate and inspire. The younger traders eagerly absorb lessons coded within, strategies that protect wealth, the clever charm that navigates politics, the valor that overcomes nature's odds. Such tales are both heritage and beacon, echoing through corridors of memory, sowing an intricate legacy into bold endeavor. Yet, not all stories sung by the fire's light carry the thrill of success. Failure also claims its place amid the narrative tapestry. Consider the saga of the Empty Well, where a caravan supposedly entranced by tales of an invaluable gemstone pursued the rumor relentlessly, only to find an echoing void at its journey's end. Their plight, while tragic, stands testament to the perils of unchecked ambition, a warning stitched amidst optimism. Historians still debate whether these tales were exercises in embellishment or retellings of actual events. However, their endurance is indisputable. Whether myth or reality, these stories wield influence that shapes perspectives and guides actions, reinforcing the treasurer's belief that wisdom often carries currency beyond valuation. Humor, too, softens even the harshest of lessons. Recall the story of the Yemeni merchant whose chickens, amid misjudgment, escaped into a competitor's camp. The comedic scramble that followed unraveled futures, far more brilliantly than coins exchanged or yarn spun. At heart, life on the Silk Road is realized not merely in the relocated wealth, but within its enduring tales, each speaking to universal aspects of human nature: ambition, triumph, frailty, humor, and wisdom. These intricately woven narratives, resilient as silk itself, fold personal journeys into the broader odyssey of history's glistening thoroughfare, evoking familiarity and endless curiosity within its travelers. And thus, as you recline against camel saddlebags beneath the watchful expanse of stars, spinning dreams with ancestors and successors, these stories remind you that while paths are physical, faith musings remember their strength within a definable journey intersecting timelessness. Treasure lies not only in ledgers inked with certainty, but in shared crust, indispensable architecture, binding moments and miles in memory's embrace, where tales of trade and triumph plant their seeds, nourished, evergreen across time eternal. Trading on the Silk Road is not merely a matter of barter, and coin it is an elaborate ballet, a dance of negotiation where diplomacy and endurance make all the difference. As a treasurer, you're at the very heart of these negotiations, a key player in a game that often stretches long into the night. To navigate these rounds requires an artful mixing of patience and persuasion, where stars woven into evening's tapestry observe deals spun from rounds of debate. Picture the setting: a dimly lit tent spun from richly dyed fabric, where oil lamps cast flickering shadows on the faces of traders gathered within. Outside, the camp settles into the rhythms of night, quiet, except for the occasional bleat of a restless camel or the murmur of sentries keeping watch. Within this intimate circle, the negotiations begin each move carefully measured, each word chosen with deliberation. The opening exchange is often filled with both offers and counter-offers, each party seeking an advantage, using embellishment as an emboldened move. A seemingly simple transaction can evolve into an intricate dance, where logic and intuition waltz precariously near shifting sands of greed and prudence. It's a theatre, with traders as players, and the stage is set for a performance where the mundane meets the remarkable. Sometimes this process is riddled with humor-smooth-tongued traders, resorting to exaggerated tales to inflate the worth of their goods, as in the case of the merchant from Antioch who claimed that his peppercorns had been harvested under a rare lunar eclipse, imbuing them with supernatural potency. Such flights of fancy elicit knowing smiles, but are countered deftly by the practiced patience of a seated veteran, ever ready to pierce through the fog of misdirection. Yet, these sessions are not without their darker moments. Tensions run high, words are occasionally clipped with suspicion, layered in carefully concealed barbs when negotiations thicken like desert fog. There exists the potential for decisive missteps, a misjudged pause, an unintended slight that can tip the scales drastically. In these moments, you become acutely aware of the stakes, realizing that a single misstep could unravel agreements and plunge relationships into discordant disarray. Historians still argue whether the Silk Road's reputation for immense wealth sprang more from material gain or intellectual exchange. What is evident is that the successful negotiation works not from mere calculation, but the mutual respect of involved, even when underscored by cautious skepticism. There are times when these sessions, which unfurl across cusp of night into dawn, strike unexpected deals. An old textile in exchange for spices unfurls the horizon, bringing unforeseen alliances to the fore, reminding you that commerce possesses the alchemical power to transform even adversaries into allies. Imagine the conclusion of a particularly heated session. The circle unwound, traders stretching like marionettes released, their shadows longer, but their burdens lighter for promises made. Coins and goods are exchanged by the wan light of morning, sealing contracts inked not just on paper, but imprinted in memory. The balance within these fireside strata is not solely of currency exchanged, but of intellect and endurance, far-reaching in influence. Commerce becomes less an isolated event, and more of a continuum. Parchment melds into tomorrow, where tonight's agreements settle. Experience leaves an enduring imprint upon all participants, the shared heartbeat of the caravan influenced by what weight consideration holds. And yet, while these negotiation marathons can be exhausting, sapping the body even as they strengthen the mind, they also provide a sense of purpose. There is an undeniable satisfaction found within the dance of dialogue. It is a testament to human tenacity and ingenuity, where challenge is met with resolve under the celestial canopy. Ultimately, as stars pearl across pre-dawn quietude, the measure of success within negotiation speaks to far more than prosperity. It echoes the legacy of resilience that carriers of trade impart forward. It animates crossroad conversations suffused with realm echoes, where abstract thought crystallizes into concrete reality, fourth dimension, far re-envisioned. Amidst predictions and prosaic ponderings cast formed upon tomorrow's tiles, you, as treasurer, realize this acquired wealth extends beyond coinage to celebrate guardian spirits, guiding ordinary dreams, transformed inside the web, woven from negotiations, spotted with stars. As the caravan wends its way along the Silk Road, the continuous journey demands not just survival, but adaptation. New landscapes bring new challenges, and these are mirrored in the foods and festivities. You encounter a kaleidoscope of flavors and traditions that provide occasional relief from the relentless grind. Yet, they also illustrate cultural ironies, a reminder that even sustenance can be a matter of negotiation. Every spiced parcel and celebratory feast is a testament to the remarkable diversity that defines this route, where the tables of the world are laid bare in bold, aromatic profusion. As treasurer, you are invariably drawn into these explorations of taste, balancing the ledgers not just of commerce but of culinary curiosity. In the din of markets, your senses become finely attuned to the scent of sizzling meats on skewers, the seductive sweetness of candied fruit, and the unexpected bite of unfamiliar spices that dance across your tongue. Perhaps it's the heady aroma of a bazang dumpling in turpin that first piques your interest, deftly kneaded by wrinkled hands, stuffed with mutton and onions, embodying a harmony of flavor as complex as the tongues of traders. Or perhaps it's the reassuring familiarity of flatbread, baked under the sun's watchful eye, spread with rich honey or tangy cheese curder. Reminder that comfort can be found in simplicity, even as you venture ever deeper into unexplored territories. Yet, as you immerse yourself in these culinary pursuits, you find yourself confronting dietary surprises. Consider the time when, upon consuming what you believed to be ordinary lamb stew, you discovered it contained fermented horse milk, a delicacy to some yet an acquired taste for the uninitiated. In this, food becomes a metaphorical bridge, encouraging alliances despite culinary disparities. At times like these, laughter bubbles up, smoothing the potentially jagged edges in blending traditioner, mortar grounding both expectation and humility. Amid these culinary discoveries, you encounter festivals that punctuate the road with joy. Lanterns bloom like illuminated flowers against indigo skies in cities like Xi'an during the Moon Festival, their soft light mirrored in placid lakes where small boats drift lazily. The autumnal air is alive with laughter, songs, and the spirited rhythm of dancers, delighting in their communal Energian invitation, extended to travelers who find themselves enveloped within the warmth of shared celebration. And then there's the spring revelry of the Navruz festival, where freshly picked herbs flavor your meals, symbolizing new beginnings and the promise of abundance. It speaks to you of cycles, of how the road, much like the seasons, brings renewal and change with every turn. This festival weaves a bright thread through the tapestry of memory, highlighting the rich potentiality contained in both the road and the journeys embarked upon. Such festivities hold value beyond the social, for they allow the mingling of traders and locals under a banner of common humanity. The relationships forged over shared meals and celebratory toasts often transcend their initial context, maturing into bonds that surpass the transience of trade. Historians still debate the impact of these exchanges, whether food and festivities served more as cultural glue or simple diversions, but their role in building bridgeable truths along these endless trails remains undeniably integral. In these moments, humor finds its own seat among cultural incongruities, such as when a visitor mistakenly chokes on the fiery zest of a chili pepper, drawing hearty laughter that defies linguistic boundaries and transcends geographical backdrops. The shared amusements become personal symbols, uniting the travelers beyond journal entries' borders. Navigating these culinary and cultural landscapes reveals yet another layer of the treasurer's journey. It's a passage characterized by exploration of body and spirit, bringing that which is foreign into the fold of experience, a delicious journey that shapes your legacy upon these trails. It serves as proof that among artifacts of tradition, joy over shared meals forges deeper imprints than transactions meticulously recorded in your ledgers. Throughout this continual tasting of life's ever-changing fare, you sense that you are part of something larger, that the Silk Road, behind all its commerce, is a savored adventure. Ventures unveil themselves more than mappings on maps. They demonstrate kinships born not just of commerce, but of feasting and festivity bonds, made more resilient by the very mixtures they embody, echoing savory companionships that endure as personal echoes whispered along the arches of time. On the Silk Road, Nothing travels faster than tales spun by merchants or the rumors borne aloft on the desert wind. News of a trade route's temporary closure flies with the same alacrity as whispers of a prosperous city rediscovering its favor for foreign silks. Yet, for all the swiftness of your precious goods, it's the speed at which news and, by extension, thieves travel that truly keeps you on your toes. Imagine a marketplace, vibrant and thrumming with expectation. Merchants lean in closely, their words a low hum above the slap of sandals against cobblestones. Somewhere in their midst, a rumor is born, a swift-footed phantom that darts from ear to ear, its fleet nature competing only with its growing embellishments. It underscores the fragile economy born of information as much as barter, where nothing is sacred and everything is subject to change. As treasurer, you must be ever wary of gossip, learning to sift through hyperbole for that grain of truth hidden beneath layers of exaggeration. Rumors are both a tool and trickster each, listening accordingly a potential precursor to action, or else a well-staged game of mouse-chasing cat that never tires of perpetuation. Part of your role becomes an impromptu responsibility as detective, a role played by dissecting stories with precision to discern authentic threats amid imagined narratives. One tale may relate the dubious deeds of a bandit gang, now claiming allegiance to an alleged warlord, swiftly shadowing your path northward, fueled by tales of unseen riches lying tantalizingly within your caravan. Another rumor, timelier yet less perilous, emanates from a convoy returning from the Easter, reclamation of an oasis recently afflicted by desert plague, now recognized as a site of relative refuge upon a tormented sea of sands. The stakes heighten as you learn the peculiar ability of these whispers to alter plans not just momentarily, but dramatically, preparing in advance even before the winds of change breeze through the encampment. Here, good judgment becomes not just pragmatic but paramount, a skill honed in the flame-lit gloom of market nights where poker-faced traders guard precious secrets. It's in this guarded shade of misunderstanding, after all, that opportunity may as easily emerge as catastrophe. Historians still argue over the efficiency of communication along these ancient roads, whether the mechanisms employed were a triumph of lateral cooperation or just fireside anecdotes fed by wanderlust. Yet the speed at which these tales travel reinforces the network of humanity interlinked across such remote expanses, fragile threads spun between oracles both mortal and geographic. Equally fascinating is the ability of these whispered words to create just as much mischief as they resolve. One tale leads to the scene of a scramble, as merchants surging upon previously overlooked locales becomes their testimony's reality, becoming wealthy overnight before, and exponentially poorer by week's end, betrayed by self-fulfilling prophecies that capture heads in grand sweep trades alongside tempests, leaving a trail of resolved possibilities barren behind. Yet amidst this tapestry of truth and tale, the treasurer gleans them with distinction born from legacy's perspectives and heart's honesty. This reflective understanding of context, meaning, intent, especially in measured breaks during night encampment, can provide unnatural comedic undertones when travelers manage to halt an assault by some wayward goats whose innocence cannot recognize the inexplicable boundaries we set in the division between here and there. Through these exchanges, trust and suspicion are cultivated in parallel. Whisper campaigns become lessons as much as leisure, a repertoire of jests and gestures that shadow conventional craft. Time and time again, you stand as witness to the interplay, the dance between distrust and intuition that underpins survival. And so, while the treasures of trade wrap themselves in trappings of wit, wealth, and wisdom culled over routes traveled far and wide, this singular ability, the gift, or curse, of speed fosters complexity through tales, enriching life along these ever-curving roads. It handsomely binds society into an understanding discovered and rediscovered, remade again into the customs reshaped above time's weary smile, and witnessed by opening gates glancing into perpetuity. So, each step unfolds within this web of whispered and unheard, carried forth by soul, steel, and silker brighter road charted beneath astrologer heavens, in runes written by travelers' imaginations and weighed dreams, etching identity through sunlit uniqueness, cast darkened shadowwards beneath moonlight's kindly expectation, writ transformed. As you continue your journey along the Silk Road, the physical landscape transforms, yet one element remains constant: the silent, stoic presence of the route's guardians, both seen and unseen. These protectors come in many forms. Some are human, sworn to ensure the safety of travelers, while others exist in the whispers of lore, legends of ghosts that haunt the sands and steppes, intermingling fact and fable to forge a rich tapestry of awe and reverence. Consider for a moment the human guardians. In certain regions, nomadic tribes offer their protection, trading their seasoned skills for a share of the cargo or coin. They are hardened warriors with eyes that have learned to spot the slightest movement on distant horizons, attuned to the rhythms of the land in a way only those who call it home can be. Their presence offers invaluable guidance, an intuitive reading of the land that yields safer paths and quicker recoveries from unexpected pitfalls. These guardians fulfill a role as sentinels against the ever-lurking dangers of the desert and mountain passages. But alongside the mortal defenders, there are the spectral guardians who inhabit the stories told by campfires. These figures of folklore are as much a part of the Silk Road's landscape as any desert dune or alpine pass. Spirits who supposedly linger in the remote corners of the earth, watching those who traverse their realms with eyes unseen, offering guidance or exacting tolls upon those who fail to show the requisite respect for the land and its mysteries. Take, for instance, the tale of the ghost of the Gansu Corridor, a phantasmal guardian said to ferry-wise travelers safely past bandit-infested cliffs. The legend insists that a slender figure, robed in white, appears to those in dire need, her light footsteps guiding them to safety. This guardian spirit, embroidered into local folklore, transforms the mundane act of passage into a quest intertwined with the mysticala, reminder that reality and myth walk hand in hand on the Silk Road. Then there are the darker spectres, the eerie tales of vengeful spirits born from tragedia merchants' unmet promise, a caravan overtaken by a sandstorm, their ghostly forms rising against the night sky to reclaim what was lost. These stories carry a cautionary tone, serving as portents to heed the whispered warnings of the land. Historians still argue over the origin and purpose of these tales, whether they were conjured as psychological deterrents against hubris or reflections of deeper cultural fears. Yet whether inspired by imagination or truth, these supernatural tales serve an essential function, bonding travelers through shared aware recognition that regardless of origin, life's mysteries remain enticingly unresolved. Something is intriguing about the unexplained, the question of whether the spectral whispers are mere tricks of wind among reeds or the cautious murmurings of entities beyond understanding. Humor, too, finds its place amidst these ghostly traditions. Recall the widely known yarn of a merchant claiming to have seen the ghosts of traders past, only to discover that the apparition was his own camp leader, draped in a mislaid cloak. The story's punchline provokes laughter, knowing reminder of our tendency to weave enchantment from familiar shadows, bridging fabric's illusion across tales, draping history in ephemeral threads. As the twilight deepens into velvet evening and shadows stretch long and lean, you reflect on the roles these tales play in the lives of all who travel this enormous tapestry of the Silk Road. The guardians both of the flesh and spirit serve as reminders that the road, while long, is not empty. Every ridge and hollow whispers names entwined into the fabric of memory, their echoes reverberating across the immense expanse, inviting us to ponder their essence. In traveling this mythical highway, you learn that reality itself holds sway-telling stories of shadow's lure, leading you ever onward, always suggesting that protection proves redundant, beneath an umbrella tapestry, guiding spirit intention shoreward within. The guardians and ghosts trail tapestry upon which travelers' lives and legends unfold, stretching bridged phantoms within destiny's thread, waiting celestial revelations amid clouded journeying. And thus, the tale unfurls of guardians and ghosts cast beneath the moonlit road, their spirits knit together, greedily gleaned amid stars, sparkling as aspiring treasure atop silken horizons, unknown to recompense, glittering more brightly than any stone might command, ridden through sand's breath within time's breath. Gentle, horizon sigh. As the Silk Road winds on, weaving its way through endless expanses of desert and mountain passes, The silent dread of worst-case scenarios cloaks you like a shadow. The life of a treasurer is underscored by this ever-present fear, the realization that every calculated move bears its own risk, each unforeseen twist on the road a potential harbinger of disaster. It's a fear you must acknowledge, even as you strive to suppress it, making it an unwelcome companion on a journey fraught with uncertainty. Pause for a moment and consider the precarious balance you tread each ledger. Entry a delicate promise of stability that could unravel with even the slightest misstep. This shadow looms large, a quiet spectre whispering what if into your conscious thoughts. A single miscalculation or unforeseen encounter might derail months of painstaking negotiation and travel, transforming promise into peril. In this game of probabilities, you become adept at playing therapist to your anxieties, reconciling your mind to the vagaries of fate. It's an uphill battle with imagination, where your mind paints vivid scenarios of disaster that would test the resolve of even the most unwavering spirit. Yet, for survival, you march forward through this mental Maria necessary acknowledgement of risk contained within every stride. The worst-case scenarios that plague your wary thoughts come in many forms. Bandit attacks, often looming silently beyond the camel's watchful eye, could damn the entire caravan into ruin. You've heard the tales shared in hushed voice caravans vanquished with no warning, fortunes scattered like wind-blown leaves, swallowed by sand and forgotten to time. These stories serve as fearful reminders of the ever-present peril lurking beneath the road's surface. But it's not just the human element that breeds uncertainty. Nature, too, often asserts itself with wild unpredictability. Sandstorms as fierce as any pirate slip across the horizon, their sudden onset rendering sight, sound, and direction moot, alienating you from the only thread of navigation you know. Flash floods transform gentle wadis into rivers of harm, as unruly waters sweep camels and people from security's embrace, reminding all who travel that solace can be profoundly distant. Historians still argue over how Silk Road merchants balanced such risks with inexorable drive, but those who understand the intricacies of human determination know that within every venture lies fear, countered by promissa, delicate equilibrium, fixed upon self, betterment's principal facade. Silence falls heavy upon the night as you digest this apprehension, a brew of possibility and fear mingling in the cauldron of your thoughts. Even the dim flicker of the campfire becomes a beacon of reassurance, its glow promising safety and warmth against the ageless mantle of darkness. Humor, tenuous and buoyant like an unexpected ally, steps in to lighten the load, offering respite through shared laughter at the absurdity of one's fears. Consider the jest made by one of your fellow travelers, an old acquaintance, who laughingly suggests that one must carry lucky talismans, whether truths or not, for providence over folly amid uncertainty's horizons. You learn that fear, especially on this vast road, is not to be vanquished so much as managed a simmering tincture observed with caution, yet never allowed to overwhelm. This mindset requires daring honesty, the ability to face turbulent thoughts, and transform them into purposeful insight. To plan, adapt, and ultimately prevail to keep moving even when shadows lengthen and hope fades into doubt. In contemplating these worst-case scenarios, you uncover the resilience embedded within the simple act of traveling onward. For in each footfall and ledger calculation, each transaction balanced against a soaring sky, you're carving out a path laden with effort and fortitude. The shadows may loom large, but the light of determination burns brighter still, pressing back the ever-present embrace of fear. And so, you accept the shadow as a vital presence, persistent but not immovable, a stirring reminder of risk, and with it, the potential for reward. Beneath whatever adversity accompanies you through the echoes of this route, the knowledge of endurance casts a flickering light over each eventuality. From this blaze, you carve strength, eschewing the weight of uncertainty for a faith in continuity and promise, weaving narratives spun from stalwart spirit and dreams that desire feeds anew beneath each never-lasting journey's sun. As your caravan traverses the undulating expanse of the Silk Road, it's impossible to ignore the looming influence of dynastic powers and their demands. These great empires spread like vast tapestries across the land, with their wills etched into the very roads you travel. The Dance of Dynasties is a performance of subtle machinations and overt proclamations, the threads of political influence weaving tightly around the fabric of trade. Being a treasurer means grappling with the reality that behind every exchange lies a shadow cast by sovereign ambitions. Along with your fellow traders, you must navigate the intricate web, spun by these distant titan empires that rise and fall, sending ripples across the desert sands and beyond. Each dynasty, from the Han's sprawling reign in the east to the power of the Roman Empire in the west, plays its part in shaping the currents through which commerce flows. Throughout your journey, you encounter the manifestations of this dynastic pull. At border crossings, imperial decrees dictate the levies imposed, guidelines forged at the whims of rulers who may never set foot upon these lands, but whose influence is felt in every coin exchanged and every toll collected. The constant shifts and transitions of power and allegiance demand nimbleness of both mind and action skills, honed through years of experience and adaptation. One can hardly ignore the unmistakable presence of the Mongol Empire, whose unprecedented territorial expansion during the 13th century left an indelible mark on the Silk Road. Under the Pax Mongolica, once dangerous paths became somewhat secure for a time, easing the way for traders like yourself. The irony of seeking safety under the rule of those once branded conquerors by others is not lost on you, as it exemplifies the capricious nature of power and its duality of protection and oppression. Historians still argue whether dynastic policies hindered more than they facilitated trade along this ancient route. Yet such debates underscore the profound fluidity of these political landscapes, where even benevolent decrees carry complexities entwined in commerce and courtly intrigue. In many ways, the very existence of these empires intertwined with the fate of the Silk Road, ensuring that trade would fleet from the capricious flames of wealth lit through ambition's intent. Surprisingly, humor finds its place even within the narratives of dynastic imposition. Consider the whispers among travelers about the eccentricities of a particular potentate who once sought to institute a fashion tax on imported silks, decreeing that only colors that suited his favorite parrot should be permitted within his kingdom. Decree met with bemusement and clever defiance, as merchants cleverly flaunted drably hued fabrics, nevertheless carrying the vibrance of their stories. The dynasty's demands yield not only logistical challenges, but also opportunities for those who can read the tides of political change. For a savvy treasurer, understanding the priorities and peculiarities of reigning courts becomes a pivotal asset, allowing you to thread the needle between profit and peril with deft precision. With allegiance fleeting and fortunes in flux, the Silk Road's merchants boldly adapt, embracing both principled negotiation and sharp acumen in assessing and influencing evolving allegiances. Yet, even amidst this intricate ballet, the Silk Road retains its own immutable essence, transcending the whims of empires simply because of its unparalleled diversity. The trade that passes back and forth defies the confines of rulers, serving as an enduring testament to the resilience and continuity found within an interwoven world of connections that span generations. Reflecting upon the role and reach of dynasties in shaping your journey, you realize theirs are but chapters within a much larger narrative where trade marches steadily onward, shaped by the same hands that craft the very ledgers held dear. Dynastic power, while formidable, holds its place among interwoven narratives, underlining the essential truth that no single empire might endure dominion over the march of history, nor quell the inherent human desire to extend beyond known horizons. So it is alongside this eternal highway you find your place, amid history's tides echoing both empire's decree and traveler's yearning. You accept the dance as part of the grand performance, writing your lines within the tableau of alliances and reformations, neither diminished nor dictated, but eternally part of the symphony played upon the Silk Road's grand Stygian, unending march, whose cadence reverberates beyond empire's grasp, spirited onward by dreams as vast as the trail itself. Finally, as your journey along the ancient Silk Road draws to a close, the sun casts long shadows over the well-worn path behind you. The end of the road brings reflection a chance to survey the indelible impressions left by those countless miles of trade and struggle, where each step was both motivated by ambition and challenged by adversity. It's a landscape that has shaped you, just as surely as you have helped shape the ledger that captures its wealth. The quiet that accompanies the end of this journey feels different from the silence that marked its beginning. A richness pervades it, born of experience and the hard-won knowledge that surviving in a world so vast and varied is a luxury not afforded to all. You think back to those early mornings drenched in golden light, when the air hummed with possibility and the road ahead seemed endless. Now, the same scenes evoke a bittersweet sense of completion, an acknowledgement of the road's passage and of time itself. In this twilight of reflection, the narratives that have accompanied you real and mythical, personal and collective come swirling together, blending into a hum of history and legacy. The Silk Road is not merely a commercial network, but a cradle of civilization, crisscrossed by destinies shaped over innumerable epochs. It's in the tales of camaraderie and conflict, of goods exchanged and legends forged, that the true richness of this path finds expression. Remember those nights beneath the stars, the fire casting its flickering glow over faces fatigued, yet resolute, the stories told, the laughter shared, the quiet contemplations exchanged. They linger with you, tender memories wrapped intricately around the lessons of trade, bearing witness to humanity's boundless capacity for endurance and connection, no matter how far apart the world may seem. Meanwhile, the wisdom gathered speaks to more than fiscal acumen. It emerges as the ability to view commerce as a bridge, linking disparate people across distances through shared pursuits. On this road, you've learned that every transaction carried transoceanic ripple effects. Each faded curiosity reveals itself as partaking in a broader choreography, a pulse that beats within the planet's quiet heart. The end is, paradoxically, but another beginning, proof that the lessons and experiences collected over thousands of miles are gifts meant to be carried into unknown horizons. Historians still debate whether trade truly led the advancement of societal progress, but your journey offers its own answer, a testament to the dialogue of culture and commerce, expanding minds as much as markets. And so, as the last echo of hoof and sandal fades into ancient echoes, your tale becomes part of the whispered lore, traversing time's immeasurable pathways. The Silk Road lives on, not just in ledgers and ruins, but in the dreams and aspirations of those bold enough to follow its historical contours. Pry open the world and let the wonderment within bind disparate threads into a shared tapestry. As darkness stretches its familiar blanket overhead, you stand poised at the edge of retrospection, preparing to savor the forthcoming threads woven into this grand narrative. A restful slumber shall greet you, softening the hard edges of memory into gentle reverie. Sweet dreams.